in and out, popping in
Yeah.
really as we go along. And so
Yeah.
we'll kind of take it easy in the beginning. So we have an opportunity for everybody to catch up. So first of all, welcome everyone. My name is Ferdy D'Souza, and I will be leading this introduction today. And what I want to do is I'd like to introduce you to who we are. We are going to be, we are presenting this introduction, we're presenting this program, and we call ourselves, here we are. I hope you can see the slide. We call ourselves Global Transformation Champions. It's a little bit high sounding, but you'll have to bear with us, okay? But that's the group, that's the name we've given ourselves. And this is an introduction to leadership from the emerging future. And I'll give you context and everything else so that we can see how this goes. So I said we're going to introduce ourselves. We are Global Transformation Champions, and our work, and that's so that you know who you're with, is to transform the consciousness with which organizations, society, and individuals operate. And so then to go back to introducing myself, as I told you, my name is Ferdy D'Souza. Quite a few of you on the call may be knowing me already, either personally or through my reputation, which I hope is a good one. And, but then there are a whole lot of others who don't know me. So I have been working in the business of really transformation, in the business of individual, organizational, and societal transformation for many, 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 many years. I'm young, I'm a little older than I look. And, so I've been around leading programs for around, 30 years or so, or maybe longer.
55. Yeah, longer.
Yeah, and maybe longer. and I just want to tell you, I can tell you a little bit of my history, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to tell you what I stand for. And what I stand for, and that's what I'm working towards, is having a world that works for everyone, with nobody and nothing left out. So having a world that works for everyone with nobody and nothing left out. Another way of saying it is, what I am committed to is the transformation of business, society, and the individual self, business, society, and self, such that we can create this world that works for everyone with nobody and nothing left out. So that's me. Um, I am going to invite Vivek and Manoj, who are my colleagues, and we work together to share with you about who they are, introduce themselves. And then I'll give those of you who are host an opportunity to introduce your guest here today. So, Manoj, you want to go first?
Yes. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the session. Uh, Most of you again know me and also Vivek. So I have been in the field of individual and organizational transformation for the last 25 years, little less than 30 and a little younger than 30. And we have had we have been working with this theory U, which Ferdy will explain a little bit more about, for the last 5 years, and we have been doing work in organizations in-house and also through open workshops, and we've been working in India, Philippines, Thailand, and of course our online workshops have been getting participation from many countries and of course many industries. So we are really glad for this privilege of sharing this work with you, and we are here to support you get complete clarity of it, as well as be able to see how it would work for your own development as a leader and how it would work for the kind of future that you want to create for your organization. Okay, so this introduction session is designed from that perspective. Welcome once again.
And Vivek?
Yeah, hi guys, I'm Vivek. I've also been in training and transformation for over 25 years. Some of you know me from my work with mission control workshops, where I've been helping people to be more productive and effective. Some of you know me from my work in other fields of transformation. I love doing work with people. I love working with organizations. And my interest is just you guys have a better life, have a better uh, work environment. You are just more effective, and that's what helps me pass my time. I love doing that, so I don't feel it's work at all. So looking forward to working with you guys in this session from 4 to 6. But yes,
Right.
Peter.
Yeah, very good. And now what I'd like to do is those of you who've invited your friends to come to this introduction, if you want to just quickly introduce them, we don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but I certainly want you to acknowledge the people that you've invited here. So SK, is there anybody else you want to
Yeah,
acknowledge?
I have my close friend again, Manish Gupta, who's the head of operations of a company called Interface. A lot of corporate experience, and he's here, Manish. And Manish, welcome to this session.
Hey, hi,
Great,
SK. Thank
great.
you. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Anybody else? Who else would you've invited some people and you just like to acknowledge them? Anybody? Looks as though everybody's come on their own steam.
And now they've come, yeah, they've been all invited by the whole group
Okay.
of our team and associates. And
All right.
I already introduced and welcomed Borhan, my associate from Bangladesh.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So we've got people here from all over the world, okay? And I am, for example, speaking to you from England. I am in the north of England in a town called Chester, which is about an hour from Liverpool, and I'm here. And then you've heard Manoj just talk about somebody from Bangladesh,
Borhan, yeah.
Goran from Bangladesh. And then there are people, and we haven't had time to work out who's from where, but there are people from all over the place. There might be somebody from Africa, there might be somebody from Thailand, there might be somebody from,
Philippines.
in the Philippines, other parts of the world. So what I want to say is good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of the day it is with you, and to welcome all of you. So now, what I'd like to do is to really see where we are today. And I think what's more important is now to get you involved in this whole thing. We've been talking about ourselves. Now we want to actually focus on you and your life and what you want to get out of things. So I presume that all of us, most of you, I know that I am, have been impacted by the coronavirus. We've been infected. I'm haven't got sick. God, thank God for that. And my family and friends, as far as I know, are well and healthy. But I'm certainly impacted financially, and I'm looking at a financial future which is different from what I looked at it when I looked at it from the beginning of the year. And I'm sure that a lot of you are facing a situation like that too. And by financial, it wouldn't just be money. It might be job. It might be the kind of work you need to do. It might be whatever it is you want to do. So you can say that post COVID, post coronavirus, we are going to be facing what people call a new normal. Now, a new normal will be not the old normal, not something that was normal before. It'll be completely different, hopefully, completely different, better, maybe, more challenging, more exciting than the kind of normal we faced in the past. But when we confront it, it doesn't quite always appear that way. Sometimes it appears like what people call a big challenge, right? And by challenge, mostly mean problem. Mostly mean, oh God, what's happening here? How are we going to manage it? What are we going to do? So you might be in that position. You might be in a hopeful position called, oh, no, I'm all right. I managed to survive things in the past and I will manage to survive this. Whatever position you are in. Now, we have been working before this virus hit us. Manoj, Vivek, and myself, and our colleagues, we've been working on on what is required for the 21st century. We are in 2020 now, so it's 20 years into the century. And what is required in the 21st century is a different kind of leadership than prevailed in the 20th century. If you go to 1910, 1900 and something, and come all the way down to the year 2000, you see lots and lots and lots of things that happened in the world. There were 2 world wars. There were, you know, the Twin Towers collapsed. There's the war against terror. There's all kinds of things have happened in the last century. And sometimes we can't even imagine it, because if you imagine 1900s and what it was like in 1900s, if you look in India, they must still had Ghoda Gadis, right? And people were moving along in those horse carriages, and things have changed very, very quickly. I don't know whether you've heard this term VUCA, 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 and V stands for volatility. The world today is very volatile, like gas. It changes, it can ignite at any time. Volatile, uncertain, used for uncertain, uncertainty. You can't be certain of anything. Even before coronavirus, things were uncertain. Now, it's like increased tenfold uncertainty, complex, complexity, and ambiguity, ambiguous. So in this kind of world, we had been exploring, we'd been looking at what kind of leadership development is required, what kind of leaders are required to be successful, to make a difference, to be able to contribute in this kind of world. So we started looking around and we came up with, saw this gentleman by the name of Dr. Otto Scharmer. He is a professor from MIT, US, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, US. And he had created a methodology, a technology called the U theory. And when we looked at it, we found that this U theory was something that really helped in the development of ourselves and other people to be the kind of leaders that you need if you want to if you want to be effective in this 21st century world. So we started studying it. This is to give you a little history. We started studying it 4 years ago, Vivek, myself, and Manoj. And we then said the best way to study it is to get a group of people together and work with them and see whether this thing works and learn something from it. That's what we did. So we had the first cohort about 4 years ago. And we are currently on the 13th cohort. Each cohort takes about 3 months. It's 10 sessions over a period of 3 months. And we've explored the whole leadership issue. And as we explored it, we got better and better at it because we started to get deeper into it. And we looked into it and we saw more and more possibilities in this methodology that was really great. And then, of course, we got hit by COVID, right? And then this is like an exact moment, they call a inflection point, like an inflection point. When things are going this way, then they turn this way. We think this is an inflection point for the world, for the planet. I told you what I'm committed to is having a world that works for everybody, with nobody and nothing left out. And if we look at the world today, it definitely doesn't work for everybody. All the migrant workers who are trying to get back home, it hasn't worked for them. It hasn't worked for the disparity in incomes that are between the richest and the poorest. It hasn't worked in terms of equality of opportunity, in terms of education, in terms of jobs, in terms of position, in terms of food, clothing, in a whole lot of ways. It is not a world that works for everybody. And like I told you, I'm passionate about having a world that works for everyone. I don't mean each and every person on the planet, but obviously there's 6 billion people and they're not likely to reach all of them, but certainly enough to be able to say that is present in the planet today. So for some people, that might be a dream. It might be, highly, highly unlikely. Maybe. I don't care. I don't care whether it gets fulfilled before I die or not, but I definitely want to work towards it. So you don't have to work towards it. This is just to tell you who you're dealing with, okay? All right, thank you. Then let me see. So how does this U theory, so therefore now I'm going to take you down the track of the U theory and how I think it'll be useful for you. So Otto, some 10, what was 20, 25 years ago, he
Around 20.
moved, yeah, he moved from Germany to the US to study innovation, deep innovation. He wanted to study how do these people who've created innovative products and companies in the world, how do they work? How do they do it? So he started to explore with his colleagues in MIT, and they interviewed 150 successful innovators, entrepreneurs, serial entrepreneurs, creative people, thought leaders, and how did they make it work? And and they interviewed them, and they really did some intensive interviews with them. In that, they came up against a gentleman. I mean, they realized that there were two things, two kinds of learning, two ways you could learn. One way you could learn is the way you and I have studied in school, in college, and everywhere. So you learn from the past. You learn from people who've already learned before. You go to school and you learn stuff that people have learned before, and they teach you. And or you learn from other experienced people, or you learn from your own experience. And that is the way most learning is done, by reflecting on learning from the past. That's how we do it. Um, Let me see whether I can show you a slide that might make it more clear for you. All right. So you can learn by reflecting on references of the past. And then they realized that these 150 people that they interviewed, there was something else happening here. There's something else going on here. They were learning in a different way. And what they realized, what they were learning from what he calls learning from the future as it emerges. That is learning from being present to, being aware of, or conscious of the possibilities, the future possibilities that are wanting to emerge, and then being able to take these future possibilities and turn them into reality. And to learn from that, because these future possibilities have never happened before. So how do you learn from the future as it emerges? That's what he went into this inquiry on. And then he met, who was it? Brian Arthur, who was from Stanford University, and at some point he was the head of economics at Santa Fe Institute. And he gave him an insight into this kind of learning experience. What happens in this kind of learning experience? And he said there were 3 stages. The first stage is you need to observe. Observe, observe, observe. Then the second stage is this observation, the first stage observation, you're not observing from the middle of the system. You go to the edges of the system you're studying, to places that people do not generally go and explore and observe from. Go to the edges of the system that you're studying and observe. And you got to develop some deep listening practices so that you can observe that way. And then move to the places of the highest potential in that system and keep observing. And it's not just observing as an individual, but as observing as a team, a group of people. Sit down and observe that. And then once you've gotten all that observation, then you retreat and reflect. Retreat and reflect and get in touch with the deeper knowing, which will come to the surface in the quietness as you are quietly exploring something. the deeper knowledge and the deeper sense of who you are will come to the surface. And then the third step is action. But what do you act on? How do you act? Well, there'll be some shoots of the future possibilities that I was talking about. As you're exploring, you start to see that something wants to emerge. Some future possibilities are about to emerge. And what you do is you start crystallizing those possibilities and then quickly create a prototype and work on that prototype. Put it out there to the stakeholders. Get some feedback from them and then iterate and put it back out there and get some feedback from them. Iterate and put it back out there. And you do this very rapidly, very quickly, yeah, until you get something that is really workable. So that's how these 150 people have created the new organization, entrepreneurs, new systems, new products, new services, stuff like that. And so that's the three stages of learning: observe, 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 retreat and reflect, and act in an instant. And then he also realized something else. He realized that this whole process only works, because there's another aspect to it. It only works if the person who's working on it, the person who's creating it, he met Bill O'Brien, who was of Hanover Insurance, and Bill O'Brien is a serial entrepreneur. He created many, many companies, and he learned from him that while you can have this technology, the step-by-step process that allows you to create new innovation, the success of the intervention depends on the interior condition of the intervener. So it doesn't just depend on the process. It doesn't just depend on the actions people take. It also depends on who is taking the actions. What is the inner state of this person? So there are two aspects to this learning from the future. One is you do that three-step process. The other one is you really have to work on yourself, your internal state. So you become somebody who is developing a keen system, keen structure within you that allows you to be effective in this. So now I'm going to go into depth on these, but I've talked for too long. So now I want to hear something from you. So I'm just going to put this off and leave it open for your interactions. So anything you want to say, anything you'd like to comment on, anything you'd like to ask, please feel free. And we are just at the beginning of it, so we haven't really gone much in depth, but I like to do this whole thing interactively. So who'd like to ask a question or say something or make a comment?
Yeah,
Thank you, Vivek sir. So my question is, okay, so theory you came to my life, or I was introduced to theory you by my mentors, and I've done deep work into it as well. Somewhere, yes. So my question is coming that right now we're already in VUCA. We have to see things with the future, and you have done a lot of work in this arena. What do you think? What is your sensing? What kind of future is going to emerge? And what are the things a leader has to prepare for right now? What kind of future possibilities, what kind of future products would emerge from this? Because there's a lot of churning which is happening right now. What are your thoughts onto it?
Well, Maheshwari, the first thing is the churning's not over yet.
Yes, it is.
It's still happening, right?
Yes.
So there's
Okay.
nothing that we can be certain about. The uncertainty is still uncertain. And it may never get certain. We might need to be able to create in the midst of the uncertainty. So I think it's easier for me to answer your second question, second part of your question than the first one, which I think was what kind of a leader do we need to be? Am I right? Yeah. I think we have to explore what we understand by leadership. For most people, in the old sense, leadership was tell people to do something and they will do it. And that's it. That's the military style of leadership. Follow the orders, give the orders, follow the orders, and a little bit more. Military is not just give orders, but also be inspiring and be everything else. But in the world today, even before COVID, and now more so after COVID, everything is dispersed. It's out there. It's spread out, right? So as a leader, you don't have a team in the room with you. So you can look at everybody in the face and tell them what to do and control them. The strings are very far. So you have to develop some new skills, some new competencies. And one of the skills that you have to develop is the ability to listen. The ability to listen in a way that you and I are not trained to listen, and in which, which leaves us feeling very fearful because we don't have any control. So to be able to listen without needing to control, be able to listen most of the time, people will say, yes, it's a very good thing to listen. But who has the time to listen? We got to do things. If we're going to spend time just listening, we'll never get anything done. Well, the new kind of leader will have to listen and get things done and not worry about not having enough time to get things done. Because in the process of avoiding listening, we take the wrong steps because we didn't listen. And then we have to retrace our steps and fix all those problems we created by the lack of listening. So it might be smarter to just listen. So one thing is learning about listening. The second thing is collaborating. To be able to collaborate and co-create. The word is co-create. To be able to create with other people. To be able to create with other people, you have to see other people as your equal. Now, most leaders are afraid that if people don't see them as superior to themselves, then they won't be able to lead. What they mean is they won't be able to control. But you need to give up control and to be able to create and to be able to do it through co-creation, collaboration, the cause, So those skills, those abilities, ability to work with a team, ability to work with people, ability to take input from others, the ability to give input and create together, all those skills are required over and above the skill to be able to sense the future that's wanting to happen. So have I answered your question sufficiently? Your microphone's off. You'll have to put it on.
So if I ask you as a leader, what is your sensing for the future right now? Because
I
you've
have
done a lot
no.
of deep work. No.
No,
Okay.
I would be stupid to say I can sense what's going to happen. I know what I would like to have happen.
Mm-hmm.
I know what is possible to happen, but what is going to happen, we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's really possible, if you want my view, I think it's really possible that our economic system is completely going to transform. The way we deal with money, the world I'm talking about, not individuals. The way we deal with money, the way we deal with the economy itself, the whole business of up. What's it called?
Growth.
Growth. That model is going to shift. Now, is it going to shift? Who knows? Maybe after 2008, people thought it would, and it didn't, because it went back to what it was. But here we are. Now the damage to the economy is so extensive and so pervasive, and with so many countries in the world, and including the US, 100,000 dead in the US. Well, that's interesting. So the world is, I think it is, anybody who can predict what's going to happen is stupid. And anyone who believes the predictions of people is also stupid. I think we have to be ready to dance with whatever shows up right now. Okay? Another question as an expert, okay, because I'm not an expert in the future. Yes, somebody else. Thank you very much, Maheshwari. That was good.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Buddy, hi, this is Abneesh. I just
Yes,
have
Abneesh.
for the time being, it's more a comment. I think there's a question lurking in somewhere, but I haven't formed it yet.
Sure.
this whole U theory seems to be very interesting, but it, um, the pivots around which it's hinged is they seem to be a little bit um, more suited to peacetime. Observe, 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 deep listening practices, retreat and reflect. Right now, when I look at myself, I don't have any bandwidth for retreating and reflecting. I don't have any bandwidth for deep observation. There is a lot of reactive attention that I'm sparing on things.
I
Um,
understand. I understand. Well, the
so,
thing is, have you
yeah,
ever read this guy's book, The Art of War?
off and on, more for putting in quotes into some of my presentations, not really as a.
But basically, wow, one of the things he's saying, if you read the book properly, is that if you don't have time to observe, you're dead in the water. You're going to start acting reactively. Not going to help. You have to be able to act not reactively, but actively. With some kind of thought, some kind of strategy. I think one of his quotes is, "Some strategy."
Much
Much
strategy
strategy
prevails
prevails
over
over
Yes. So
no
say the
no
strategy.
quote,
strategy.
Vivek.
Much
Much
strategy
strategy
prevails
prevails
over
over
no strategy.
Less strategy, and
Less
less
strategy.
strategy prevails over no strategy.
Yeah.
So, and all the strategic thinking and all that requires some time. It does require observation. It does require all that. And if I could give you a tip, stop reacting. That's the first thing you got to do. Stop reacting. Take a breath. Breathe deeply. Wait for a moment and see what opens up. Maybe whatever is in front of you this second, in a couple of hours will change. And normally it does. Okay.
Yeah, I think you said success of intervention depends on the internal condition of the intervener. I think that kind of
Yeah.
brings it together.
Yes, it
So
does.
I'm hoping we are going to spare some time on that, on
We are.
what can one do.
As soon as this bit of question and answer stuff interaction gets over, I'll go into what we mean by the internal condition and what Otto Sharma saw and what U theory addresses. Okay.
Sure.
But thank you for your question. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Did you have your hand out, Manoj?
Sorry. Yeah, I had my hand up.
Yeah. Please, you want to say
Yeah.
something? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to respond to Avnish's question or query, right? And because many people seem to be in that situation and they're too busy to think and to observe, right? Two things I would like to say is it's not only that we are too busy right now. Most of us have been too busy anytime in life, right? So when things were going great, they were going great, so they had no time to think. When things are not going great, they're not going great, so there's no time to think. I think it's more like Avnish, what you said is the internal state of and the mindset of observing. So that's one thing that I would like to point out, and also want to share that when we are saying observing, it is not that you take days and weeks and months to observe. It's about you being able to do that as multiple times in a day. So it's not like, oh, you're going to postpone your decision making to next week or next month. It's not possible that way, right? But in that moment of observing, you are, when you have that as an orientation, you will find that you will connect with people differently. You will discover data differently. You will discover insights from the field, as Ferdy said earlier, that you will discover insights from the field differently. So consider it's not a function of time, but it's a function of orientation.
Presence.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Avnish. I think it's a very important
That's
dimension.
very good, Manoj. Well said. Okay. Who else? Anybody else? No? Should I go on? Okay. I'm going to move on. So first thing is the three stages, right? Observe, 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 retreat and reflect, act in an instant. Three things. Then the other thing is he came across uh, the late Bill O'Brien of Hanover Insurance, who is a serial entrepreneur, created many, many companies, very successful in it. And he said, oh, I think I told you about this. He said the success of the intervention depends upon the internal state of the intervener. So he started to explore what is this internal state and how could we, it is in fact like the question that Avnish asked, how do we find what our internal state is and how do we shift it, right? So let me now share my screen with you again. And here we go. So the success of the intervention depends on the interior condition of the intervener. Now, have a look at this slide, okay? So what is it that's going to be required? What are the shifts that, if they happen, alter your internal state? So there are three things. So first of all, we said you got to start observing, and I think Manoj alluded to that already. Who's observing? How do you observe? Most of the time, we don't observe in the sense of the scientists are observing. Most of the time, we don't observe. Most of the time, what we call observing is looking through our past patterns, looking through what we call our downloading, things that have happened in the past, our beliefs, and we look at people, we look at the guy and we say, yeah, I know him. He's like that. And he was like that in the past. And this is how he's going to be. Or he looks like somebody who I know in the past who was like this and he's going to be the same way. Or this situation, yes, I've come across this situation before. This is what's going to happen. So it's like the whole thing is coming from downloading, from past patterns. So we are not looking from a fresh new future at anybody or anything. We are looking through our past patterns. Now, there's nothing wrong with that because we got to be careful. We don't make the same mistakes we made in the past. We got to avoid those mistakes. We got to learn from the past. But we don't need to be entrenched in the past, stuck in the past. So one of the things we need to do is to open our mind. You see right here, it says open your mind, open our mind. And how you open your mind is by suspending your beliefs, suspending what you know, not that you throw it away. It's like a car, you park it to the side and get out of the car. It's not that you take the car and let it go into the sea. No, you let it be there. And now you come out of the car and you're opening your mind and you start seeing with fresh eyes, being able to put aside the downloading and see with fresh eyes. So you need to be able to do that. The other thing you need to be able to do is to get connected to people. So open heart. You need to be able to sense not just from your two eyes, you know, what do they call it? POV, point of view. Point of view, you know, in these videos, they say you look at it from a point of view, from your point of view. You got to actually be able to see from other people's point of view, but not just see from other people's point of view, but see yourself from their point of view. See how you must be occurring for them. See how you must be occurring in your own system, in your own world for other people. If you did that, that'll make an enormous difference for you because you'll suddenly begin to understand why people act the way they do, why they behave the way they do when you do whatever you do. Some of the times it is like, oh, why are they doing that? Then you make up some reason. But maybe the reason you made up is not the real thing. Maybe there's something else going on here. So it's like opening your heart. We call that empathic, being connected empathically. So open your mind, open your heart, and the last one is open your will. Opening your will is to be able to let go. Let go of yourself. Let go of what you know. Let go of who you think you are. Let go of, in many ways, let go of how you exist. And open yourself, open your will to allow something else to come in. That's why you let go and you let come. And you actually do this. You see this blue dot at the bottom? You do this when you retreat and reflect. After you've done this whole process, you go to the bottom and you retreat and you reflect and you allow the inner knowing to come up. the inner self to come up so you can get connected to your highest sense of self. And as you get connected there and you start looking at the future, looking at what are the possibilities, that's the question Maheshwari was asking me, right? Looking at what are the possibilities that are wanting to come, that are wanting to occur, and you start to sense them, start to get a sense of them. So them green shoots of possibilities of the future showing up. Then what you do is you take one of those and you say, okay, I'm now going to explore this one. And you start crystallizing it and you create a prototype, a real rapid prototype where you quickly take some action, try it out, put it out to your stakeholders, see what they say, get some feedback, iterate, make some changes, send it out again. Do this in a rapid process cycling of iterating feedback, iterating, sending it back again, feedback, iterating, sending it back again, until you have a working prototype that makes sense. And then the next stage is obviously how do you take it to scale? So this, in a very small nutshell, is the U theory and is the internal state that needs to transform. Remember, this is just a very quick feed to you, and obviously it has a lot more depth, a lot more width than what I'm saying really rapidly over here. But I'm going to stop now for a moment and give you an opportunity to comment on it. Okay, so anybody? This is the condition, this is the work you have to do to alter the internal state. Let me just stop this thing and let's see everybody on the screen. There are 41 people on the call today, so let's hear from people now. What do you think? What do you see? Any questions? Or is this going bumper? Yes.
For this Satya.
Yes, Satya.
As far as yes, as far as listening to you, whatever I'm doing in my life, in my business, in my personal communication, my personal behavior, what is internal going on, it's coming out.
Is that a
I
question?
have to check my internal process, the way I'm thinking. Yeah, the way I'm thinking, the way I'm.
Okay, let me see if I can take a shot at answering you. Okay.
Okay.
My answer would be no. You don't have to do that. You don't have to pay attention to what you're thinking and how you're thinking and make the whole process of changing your thinking. No. What happens is you need to be able to recognize when you are downloading. So do you understand what I mean by downloading? Can you just tell me what do you understand when I say downloading?
Means something out there in the out there, and I'm just using it. I'm learning it.
Yeah, you've heard of the Google bubble?
Yeah.
Right? So tell me what you understand by Google bubble.
Just search Google and whatever you are looking for, put and get the information.
Yeah, but the bubble is whatever you put in the first time, the second time it will show you something similar and something similar and something similar, so that you are now in a bubble.
Right.
You know, I noticed it in Netflix. I happened to see a movie which was there in front, so I clicked on it. I watched the movie. It was something about space and weird stuff. And the next time they gave me choices. They gave me choices that were similar. It wasn't bad the second time, but by the time I got to the fifth time, I said, why can't I get some other movies? I was getting all similar kinds of movies coming in. That is our condition in life itself.
Right.
We've got an algorithm that gives us the same old things from the past, back again. So it keeps us stuck in the past. So that is what we call downloading. Okay. So
Got it.
imagine you're in a circular room, right? It's a circular room and it's got windows all around. And on the windows, there are shades. You know, it's white shades. So something can be projected on the shades. And in the middle of the room, there is a projector. And what it is doing is it's projecting videos onto the screen. And what it's projecting is videos from your life, videos from your opinions, videos from your judgments, evaluations, and all that. So all you're seeing is all your judgments, evaluations, considerations, your thoughts from the past, all that is being projected out there. That is what I call downloading. Now, imagine if you suspended your downloading, what would you be doing? Well, you'd be walking to the window and drawing the curtain so that you can look outside. And you look outside and you can see something other than all your projections from your past, right? You're seeing some reality, some real stuff that is opening your mind. Opening your mind. Then imagine you open the door. First of all, you draw all the curtains, right? So that you can look into the room from outside. You open the door and you walk out of the room to a place where one of your stakeholders is standing outside the room and they're looking at the room. Now imagine that you could also stay inside the room while you go out there, right? So the person's out there is seeing you in the room, in your environment, doing the things you're doing. If you stand where he's standing or she's standing and you look through their eyes, you'll see yourself in your environment, in your world, operating the way you do. And most of us don't have a chance to do that because we are inside our own eyes. We don't get out of it. That's the second thing called open heart. You're opening your heart. You get a connection differently. So when we talk about the internal state, we are talking about your mind, your thoughts, your feelings, your judgments, your evaluations that you are unaware of, and you alter that internal state by altering your perceptions. You alter your perception of other people, you alter your perception of yourself, you alter your perception of what's happening in the world around you. That gives you a different view. That making sense?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Arvindan, you want to ask a question? Why don't you just go ahead and ask?
One of the most difficult constructs is to force ourselves to think about the future. Future itself is in the construct of imagination. So, since you alluded that to the fact that most of the time we operate from our memory, I was wondering, when we have to do this deliberate act of prototyping, how does one leap into the future? Because the future is unknown. What kind of projections can we lead forward? Is it something that we do?
That is a very, very good question. Very interesting question. The problem is you first have to do the first two parts before you do the prototyping. Otherwise, you will do what you just said. Do the same as the past again and again and again and again. So when you actually transform your perception of yourself and the world, which is the observe, observe, observe part, when you transform that, then you transform your perception of yourself existentially. Like, who am I and what is my life for? You actually get connected to your highest sense of source. You get connected to the inner knowing. And then standing in that inner knowing, you look at the future, you look at the possibilities that are showing up. Then you start to hear the possibilities that vibrate for you, that are connected to your highest sense of self and your deepest knowing. So that's when you pick one of those, which is the question you were asking me, right, Arvindan?
Yeah. So does this automatically leap out in the realm of possibility just because we abandoned the past?
When you're in that state, that will start to occur as green shoots. It won't be occurring as a grown tree. it'll be occurring as green, little green shoots. Yes, Anil, hold on, I'll get to you. Little green shoots it'll start occurring as. So Arvindan, I don't know whether I've answered your question sufficiently.
It gives me some light into the
Idea.
pathway.
Yeah. I don't think I can give you more light than that because you have to actually do the work.
Okay.
You have to do, but very good question. Thank you. Anil? Anil, put your sound on.
When I have started opening my heart, I've experienced that people get corrected, but the end result is I've been cheated or I've been used, and that's my that is in my experience.
Is it
How
all
to-
right? Is it all right if I give you a little bit of coaching here?
Yeah, sure, definitely. That's why I raised the question.
Okay. What you're just speaking is what I would call downloading.
Okay.
That's the coaching. That
Yeah.
you are speaking from your downloading. That's what we call downloading. In the past, I did something similar.
Yes.
And when I did something similar, this is the result I got, right? I got cheated. Now, what I did is I take all these things together and I put it together so it makes sense to me. And the way I put it together and it makes sense to me now keeps me stuck in my Google bubble of that situation.
Yeah, I can go to the border and observe again.
Well, what will happen when you come to us? If you participate with us, we will give you some tools. It is a step-by-step process. So the first step is being able to recognize your downloading, observe your downloading, and know when you are downloading. The second step is to suspend that downloading. Actually, an intentional action of suspending the downloading. So you are seeing with fresh eyes. So when you start doing those first two processes, then the next step becomes opening your heart. You don't open your heart before you stop your downloading. Otherwise, you will be in the position you're in right now.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and another thing is you've never done what we are suggesting you do. Even though it looks like you've done something similar, you've never done that because there's a process we take you through so that when you get to that place, then what you're doing is something different, right?
Yes.
Great. Very good, Anil. Thank you for your question. Someone else? It doesn't look as though people have any questions. So let me carry on, and then you if you still have a question, you can come back with it. Okay. So let me just go back to the slide. So the you can see the golden U in the background here. That's the U we are talking about because it's in the shape of a U, like the letter U. And in the U, you start on the left-hand side. You start where you are. Where you and I find ourselves by default is in downloading. And what we're doing is we're downloading past patterns. As we start the practice of recognizing the downloading, which is the most important, you have to recognize when you're downloading. And then you can start the practice of suspending that downloading and opening your mind and seeing with fresh eyes. Now, right now, although you may not agree with me, you're in the middle of your downloading and you don't know you're in the middle of your downloading. And until you can catch yourself in the middle of your downloading and suspend it, you won't fully understand what we are saying here, what I'm saying here, okay? Then the next step is, in the whole process you're going down to you, the next step is, so by the way, with this open mind, we got some exercises and we've got some practices that enable you to see how you listen, how you observe, what are the ways you sense. There are three ways you sense. You sense with your ears, you just hear what people are saying. Then you sense at some other level, you're opening your heart, you're sensing with your heart, and then you sense at the level of your will. So all these three. Um, so we'll take you through some exercises. We do an exercise called an empathy walk. Now in the empathy walk, hold on a minute. Yeah. Unfortunately, I am getting into the program itself, and the program takes 10 sessions. So I'm trying to avoid giving you too much. You know, it's like, what do they call it? When you show somebody before the movie, you show somebody some,
Trailer.
yeah, but not the trailer, but you spoil the movie for
Spoiler.
people.
Yeah, spoiler.
Spoiler. I don't want to give you any spoilers, okay? I'm kind of struggling with it a bit. I mean, it would be easier for me if you ask questions rather than my going through this process itself. Uh, do you have questions? That would be really good.
Fadi, I would like to say something.
Yeah, you can. And I would like to hear from people and their questions, okay? Yeah, go ahead, Vivek.
Yeah,
You go ahead.
so if you look at life, life is like at any moment in life you are batting, and there is a person who's bowling at you, and the ball is coming at you at 150 miles an hour, or it's coming at 100 miles per hour. It's either coming as a fast ball, or it's going to come as a googly, or it's going to spin away from you, or it's going to spin into you. You never know what's going to happen. But at all times in your life, you're like a batsman. In life, you're always batting out there. And in this example that we're talking about, that there is a future emerging. The ball is going to come. Whether you like it or you don't like it, whether you're prepared for it or you're not prepared, the ball is coming at you. Now, if you're batting and you're downloading in your head that last time, you know what happened? That guy, he bowled a ball and it went this way. So I have to now make sure that he doesn't, get me out here. And most probably the ball is going to go the other way. So you're not present to the ball that's coming. You're in your head all the time. And leaders really need to develop the skill to be really present to what's coming at you. And that's the future that is emerging. And all this work of observe, is really about observing what is really emerging. And in your interactions with people, people are saying things to you. Are you paying attention to that? Are you paying attention to what's coming to you from your team, from your stakeholders, from your customers, from the market, from your boss, from your juniors? There are so many things that are coming at us, and most of us are in the downloading world, and we're not present, and we're not ready for the future that's emerging. And so this whole youth theory and our training is for you to develop the skill and competency to deal with a world that's emerging at you. So if you have questions around that, you should ask us.
Yeah, Manoj, I got your message. And also, guys, ask now. We have kind of introduced you to the subject. I think it'll be useful if you actually looked at it, ask questions from the point of view of you need to answer that question so you can participate in this program. That'll be the best way to ask the questions. Otherwise, it's all theoretical. So, Guru Shiva Kamat, why don't you go ahead and ask your question?
Hi, this is Guru.
Yeah, Guru.
There has been cooperation, cognition, and culture. The three C's, what we say about human distinctiveness. How do you think that in the coming world there will be cooperation? Because everybody is so isolated in itself, as well as trying to do by their own self. Of course, there are people who are working in groups, but still that we can see, or maybe that is just my perception or my downloads. But me myself, I'm working so much alone. Even though I have teams which are working from different areas or different this thing, but the experience of cooperation is somewhere missing, at least for last 2 months. So
yeah, so
is this going to be similar? So is this going to be similar, and how that cooperation is going to come?
Well, what is going to happen in the world, we don't know. Okay. But we do know what you can do if you participate in the program and what you can learn from the program. So with regard to the question you're asking, what
Yeah.
you can do is you can learn one of the essential skills of leadership, which is being able to work collaboratively with others, to be able to generate collaboration and to be able to generate people's participation and engagement. And
So
one of the
is
things,
this the sorry?
go ahead,
So
go
is
ahead,
this
no,
the
go ahead.
selfishness that is coming
I don't know. I
as
don't know.
a part or
I
self-interest?
wouldn't even
Hmm.
explore that. I don't really care very much about why it is happening. What's important
Hmm.
is what result do you want to produce? Can you produce that result? And how can you produce that result? So you
Okay,
want to produce a result
got it.
where I think you would like to be able to generate cooperation around you. Am I
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But
The result I want to produce might not be possible without cooperation. Most probably, I am already doing. Uh, I'm asking for help. I'm taking help from others, but I'm not getting the feeling of cooperation.
when I talked about result, I was talking about the result called cooperation. You want to get a
Okay.
result called
Okay.
cooperation, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And your question could be, how do I generate cooperation, right?
Perfect.
And it could be, do you think if I engaged in this program, what are the tools you'll give me that allow me to
That
generate cooperation, correct?
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me answer that question because I don't know what you're working on and what will happen in the world. I have no idea. But I
Right.
know that there is you and there is something possible for you, right? So one of the things is that leadership, and really you can't produce anything you want to produce by yourself, Guru. You're going to have to be a leader.
Hmm.
And to be a
Yeah.
leader, you have to lead somebody. You have to lead some people, some groups, right? So you have to be able to be effective in a group of people. Now, how do you provide leadership in a group of people, right? So let me tell you something. We actually one of the things you will learn in the program is that there are when you if you work in any company, then you normally have to go for meeting after meeting after meeting. Is that correct? Would you
True.
guys agree with me that you spend a lot of your life in meetings? No.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So generally what happens in those meetings, right? First, one of the most common things that happens is there's one person who's the head honcho, like the alpha guy, and everybody else has to kowtow to that person, and they all go around saying yes sir, yes sir, yes sir, yes sir. They won't speak their mind. They'll just say whatever they think the group wants to hear or whatever they think that leader wants to hear. So
Right.
in that kind of environment, you're not going to get much cooperation, are you? Not really. You'll
Hmm.
get pretend cooperation, but not real cooperation, right? And certainly no collaboration, certainly no co-creativity. So that's an ineffective environment for innovation and creativity. Would you agree with me, Guru?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then there's another kind of environment that is there in meetings, which is called debate, where people are arguing with each other. They're arguing about their point of view and they argue against someone else's point of view. And this also is quite a frequent situation. Am I right? Have you come
Hmm.
across this a lot?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
even this is not a productive environment. It just leads to arguments. You waste of
Not at
time,
all.
effort, energy, and you don't feel good, right? So then, as a leader, you don't like these two fields. As a leader, you want to steer your group of people to a productive place. What's the first productive place? Is a productive place we call dialogue. What is dialogue? Dialogue is where you have your point of view, you don't give up your point of view, but you don't blind yourself to other people's point of view. You're
Hmm.
able to hear, listen, and see other people's points of view. And as a leader, you have got the skill and the competency to generate in your group that kind of environment where people start listening to each other. They don't give up their point of view, but they are willing to listen to other people's point of view. What this then results in is dialogue. So you hear diversity, diverse points of view, different opinions, different perspectives, different point of view without argument. So that's a skill as a leader to be able to generate that in your group of people, right? And then when that is generated sufficiently, you get automatically fall into the next important style of conversation, which is co-creative, where somebody comes up with an idea and the other person don't just listen to it. They actually think, wow, that's a good idea. And they add something to it. And then someone else listen to that addition. Yeah, that's terrific. And add something else and something else and something else and something else. And soon it's nobody's idea, but everybody's idea. Okay. So when you can get that way, your idea, you have to, in a way, give up your attachment to the purity of your idea. And you have to be willing to allow it to be influenced by other people's opinions and thoughts. But you reach a much better idea than when you started out. If you could do that, Guru, if you had the ability to do that and the capacity to do that, fantastic.
Great.
Is it making sense to you?
Yes, yes, totally. Can I share something? Can I add one thing here?
Sure, you can.
Like,
Sure.
yeah, something similar we tried. What I used to do was I used to launch my online courses, like launch, you know. But this is the first time. What I'm doing is I am putting it in a beta version with a couple of my students and trying to get their point of view.
Yeah, very
Maybe
good.
that is just a start of it. I
Yeah,
don't know.
very good.
That
Very
is just
good.
a start of it, but I think this really helped. This conversation really helped. That I can do it much more often rather than holding on to my idea that this is my idea and I have to carry it on my own shoulders somewhere
Very
somehow.
good. Now you begin to understand that
Great.
statement of Bill
Yep.
O'Brien that the internal state, the success of the intervention depends on the internal state of the intervener.
Totally
Right?
making sense. Yep.
Okay, great,
Yep.
great.
Great.
And
Thank
what
you.
we will do if you participated with us is we'll take you through a step-by-step approach where you develop your muscle, the muscle of listening, the muscle of engaging in conversations, the muscle of how do you shift the conversation from one level to another level, the muscle of getting to know your stakeholders, interviewing the people who are important to you, to your project, and getting to understand them, getting to understand where they're coming from, what do they want, how do they see you, how do they see your contribution to them, how do they judge it, that way.
Okay.
And also just to begin to bridge the gap between two different kinds of people, two different worlds, and be able to step into someone else's world and see their world from your eyes. And then we have one very important tool, which I think a lot of you will love as leaders. It's called a case clinic. In the case clinic, you get a group of peers together, 5 people. And one of the person comes up with a leadership challenge. I'm dealing with this challenge. COVID-19, blah, blah, blah. I don't know how to deal with this and that and that and that. And we take it, you go through a process. There is a process. And in that process, the other people on the team, they become your consultants or coaches. But here's the secret. They're not allowed to give you any advice. Most of us, when we hear somebody's challenge or problem, what do we straight away know? We give them advice because we know what they should do. Here you don't give any advice. Yeah, here you don't give any advice. What do? You listen. And what are you listening for? Well, you're listening for something else. You're listening at a different level. You're listening for what do they generate within you when they speak? What emotions? What's feelings? What metaphors? What images, pictures do you get when you're listening to them? And then there's this process called mirroring, in which you then mirror to them what you got. Very powerful process. And people actually start to see, things start to get clear for them. They produce breakthroughs in challenges that they'd been struggling with for a long time with no advice. Now, isn't that interesting? No advice.
Very,
Okay.
very interesting.
All right. Guru, thank you for your question.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the support.
You're welcome. Somebody else who'd like to go next? Now, by the way, questions, comments, how abouts, what ifs? Hey, Miss Surya, Ujjwal.
Ferdy,
Good to see you, Ujjwal, after
very, very good
centuries.
to see you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay. It's very, very uncanny to be here just now. You know, Vivek just called me. You will not believe. Last week, I have written the context of my business, fresh new business, and I have written connect, collaborate, and co-create. Can you imagine that? And I joined about 1 hour, I think almost 40, 50 minutes late.
Right.
And I started hearing, so where have I landed? My God. And it's so good. It's so good to see you. Seeing you
Yeah, it's
after
good
many,
to see
many
you
years.
too. Yeah, very good, Ujjwal.
Very nice to you. I feel I'm back. I'm back.
Good,
In my
good,
landmark space.
good to see you. Good to have you back with us.
I'm also creating, but the same distinctions what you're saying. With the same, I don't know, we've not been connected, but with the same distinctions, I'm creating this business.
Okay,
And
very good.
I'm
Wonderful.
feeling, I'm filling up the forum.
Sorry, I didn't get the last thing you said.
I said, it's uncanny. It was uncanny for me to enter and hear the words connect, collaborate, and co-create.
I got that part. I got that part.
You got that part.
Yeah.
Then I said, I'm building a business.
Using
new
connecting,
from last week.
collaborating, and co-creating. I got that too.
Yes, yes.
So I think I got everything there.
And you spoke, yes. And you also spoke about clinic.
Case clinic, yes.
The consulting clinic, case clinic.
Yeah.
I am participating in a 1-year-long program in which they call it a hot seat, but exactly the same concept. And I was on a hot seat last week, and I got such lovely inputs from different people.
Okay, very good. Very good. I would, however, caution you against thinking that what I'm talking about is what you're doing.
But got it.
Most probably it will have some differences, right? Yeah, but it doesn't matter. That's good. Great. Good to see you.
Definitely.
Very good.
Yes, good to see you.
Yeah. All right. So who else? Now, by the way, we are in the middle of the question and answer session. Okay. So any questions? You know, I've finished talking about what I want to talk about. Now, I'm interested in.
Ferdy, it might be good to know the contours of the program itself, and
Yes,
also
that's good.
Also, maybe a little bit about, is it more about the self, at the level of the self, or leadership in the organization, or one being the source of the other? Which domain does it really primarily work in?
Very good. I appreciate that question. So it's Avnish, right? Was it Avnish who asked the question?
Yeah, Ferdy.
Yes, Ferdy.
Okay, great. So, so let's go through the program, okay? The program takes place in 10 sessions. So there are 10 seminars, and each seminar is 2.5 hours. The one that which is open for you to engage in is cohort 14. It's the 14th cohort. We are finishing the 13th cohort. And it will be 7:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. Indian Standard Time. You'll have to translate the time to wherever else in the world you are in. And it's done over Zoom, like this, exactly like this. Now, it's very interactive. It's not a webinar. In webinars, I find them very boring. All you see is the screen and somebody's voice in the background, and not much dialogue and much interaction. If they have interaction, they pick it up from the chat and say it here. You talk directly. You engage directly, just like you are face to face in a seminar. So there are 10 sessions, and in the 10 sessions, we will take you through the different parts of the U theory, but not just talking, but you'll be engaging in exercises and work. So first thing we'll do is you'll start recognizing your downloading, and we have a little Excel sheet which you fill up every day with which level did you find yourself in, how much downloading did you notice. So it helps you to get present to your downloading and seeing what happens when you suspend it. So you suspend your downloading and you start listening with an open mind. You start seeing with fresh eyes. That's the first thing you'll do, and you'll do a lot of work doing that. Then we'll tell you about opening your heart. What is involved with opening your heart? How do you sense from the field? How do you open your heart? So these two things we focus on first, mostly session 1 and session 2. Session 1, you learn about it. Session 2, you learn a little more about it. But between session 2 and session 3, you'll be practicing it. And in order to practice it, we got something called an empathy walk. I say you can call it empathy tea, chai, or empathy coffee. In the sense you invite somebody to come and have coffee with you, or you go for a walk with them, and you're just chatting. And the intention is to get to know each other better, to get to know that person better. And there is no structure, there's no format. You ask them questions, they ask you questions, you answer them. But the intention is to be open and to learn a lot about each other. And we ask you to pick somebody who's very different from you, so that you learn something from them that you would not learn by talking to your friends, because they're just like you. So you practice that, you do that. And there are some amazing results people get out of that, doing what's called the empathy walk to get to know people better. But in doing that, in doing the empathy walk, you have to practice this. You have to practice, notice your downloading as you're talking to them, suspend your downloading as you're talking to them, and start opening your heart to them as you're talking to them. So all of the thing is happening right there. Then we talk about the fields of conversation. So let me take you through. Let me just see. Screen sharing. Okay, so the next thing you will learn about, bear with me, I didn't expect to go through the whole module, but it's good that you asked me that question. Let me
What is the
see.
stakeholder interview?
No, the levels of listening.
Levels of listening, right.
Do you have it?
You want to take them through the levels of listening?
Just have it up on the screen, yeah.
Give me a
So wait,
second.
I'll open it. Fields of conversations. No, level of listening we just did. Fields of conversation. I want to take them through. Okay, so where are we? Here we are. It opened up. Bear with me, guys. Somebody will say this is not professional. You should have his slides properly. You should. I agree. But I know you'll forgive me. Here you are. So now, you see, I was talking to somebody about this, the meetings you have, right? It was a guru, right? So then we talk to you about what we call
Yeah.
fields of conversation, like electric field, magnetic field, conversational field. In a conversational field, the field affects everybody in the conversation. The magnet affects all the ion filings on magnets in its magnetic field. So in the same way, in the fields of conversation, there's a field called talking nice or downloading, where you are speaking from what others want to hear. So mostly turns out to be polite routines, empty phrases, and all about conforming and not saying what you think. Then the next stage, I've also talked about this, was debate, where you start talking tough, speaking from what I think. Now, this is good in a way because at least it leads to divergent views, but people become their point of view, and it's all about confronting, arguing with each other. And then we have the first productive field called dialogue, which is a reflective inquiry where you start speaking from seeing yourself as part of the whole, from defending to inquiry into viewpoints, and you start connecting, and there's reflection happening. And finally, there's the fourth level, which is collective creativity, which leads to a generative flow. Once again, what we were talking about. So in one of the sessions, so to answer your question now, in one of the sessions, we will distinguish this, right? I think session 3 or session 4, we'll distinguish these fields of conversation. Then your job is to go out there, notice at work, in the meetings you have, what is the field of conversation that is prevalent or that is present? And is it possible for you to be able to shift that field of conversation? What would it take for you to be able to shift that field of conversation? So you could say the program is a mix of theory and practice, theory and practice, theory and practice. The theory is in the session, then you need to go out there and actually practice it. And we give you some exercises where you practice it. So, Avnish, you were the one who asked me this, right?
That's right.
Yeah. And so some of the sessions are about giving you those tools. Then there is a session where you will actually learn to retreat and reflect, withdraw yourself, and there are some exercises that allow you to connect to the deepest sources of yourself. And you'll answer 2 fundamental questions of existence. Who am I, or what is myself with a capital S? And what is my life about? What is my work about? What is my work with a capital W? What is myself with a capital S? And what is my work with a capital W? And we have a questionnaire, 16 questions. You'll answer those questions very rapid fire, and it stirs up your thinking. You're stirring the pot so ideas come up, and you start to answer these questions. And learn more about it, okay? Now, one of the tools I forgot to, or I must have mentioned, but I'll mention it again, is the stakeholder interview, where you actually interview your boss, your colleagues, your peers, your customers. You interview the people who are stakeholders in your life. If you can interview your partner, your wife, or your husband, or your children, because they are stakeholders in your life as well. But it's mostly about work situation. And in those stakeholder interviews, you ask them 3 questions. One is, what is your most important objective in life? Imagine asking your boss that, what is your most important objective in life? Most of us feel embarrassed. We don't want to ask it. We think, oh, what will they think? But there is a way you can ask it, which is not difficult. And you ask that. And when you ask that, you get an answer. You begin to understand your boss or your subordinate or your colleague or your peer much, much better in terms of what are they committed to? What are their objectives? And then you ask them, how can I help you fulfill your objective? And you allow them to speak. And then you ask them, how would you judge, how would you judge, or how would you rate, or how would you judge how successful I am in supporting you in this objective? So you get to know how they're assessing you rather than assuming you know how they're assessing you. These are very powerful exercises. And the last question is, if I could change 2 things in my area of working with you, 2 things. If I could change it, I'm not promising I will change it, but if I could change it, and these 2 things, if I could change, would make the biggest difference for you, what are the 2 things that will make the biggest difference for you? And then you allow them to speak and you get input from them. And then people create a whole new relationship with their stakeholders after doing these exercises. And remember, you only start doing this after you have practiced listening, You practice shifting your listening, opening your mind, opening your heart. You've done some stakeholder and some, uh, what are they called? Empathy walks. So you practice with somebody you don't have anything at stake with, and you can actually try out some things. And then you do the stakeholder interview. So that then lets you get an insight into your stakeholders, how they operate, what they work, or what are they committed to, what's important to them, that kind of thing. And then there is the whole prototyping, Avnish. After you go through the bottom of the U, you get connected, you get the answer, who is myself, what is my work, and you get some green shoots of possibilities from the future that you want to explore. Then how do you explore it? Is through a whole process called prototyping. And we'll take you through the prototyping process. And just so that you have a sense of what the prototyping process is, one is having an intention, a really powerful intention that's connected to your heart. The second is having a group of people, 5 people, who really, 4 other people, yeah, a co-team, 5 people, who are committed to the same intention, and they see it the same way you see it, and they want to go for it too. And you guys, 5 of you, get together, and then you create a space where the future, like a landing strip for the future, a safe space where you can communicate. You do it regularly. You can do it on Zoom. You don't have to do it face to face. You could do it face to face, and you meet regularly and you discuss it and you iterate. Then there's the process of iterating, creating a little project, creating a little prototype, putting it out there really rapidly, getting feedback really rapidly, making some changes, putting it out there, all that process. And all the while, you're paying attention to the universe. You're paying attention to what's coming back. What's the feedback you're getting from the universe? And you're correcting accordingly. And you're doing it as a team, as a group of people, until you got a prototype that really, really works. So, Avnish, that was a little long answer, but I hope it addressed what you asked.
Yes, it did. Ferdy, just a couple of things. One, this group of 5 people is from the cohort itself, or people who are from, for example, my life at work.
Well, ultimately, it'll have to be from your life and work. But for you to practice or for you to develop something, you can use the people from the cohort itself.
Right.
But I think for it to really work, ultimately, you'll have to get them from your life. Great, good question.
In fact,
All right.
most of the practices, most of these things are practiced in the group itself first, so that you develop the muscle to be able to do it, so that you can then take it into your life and actually do it with your stakeholders and create your own core team.
Right. And this is the 14th cohort we are talking about.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry, I don't mean to sound cynical, but I may land as cynical. But are there people I can talk to who have made a lasting impact in their lives from the earlier cohorts? And let me tell you the reason I'm asking this question.
No need of the reason. I think it's a perfectly legitimate question. You don't have to explain it. Yes,
Okay.
yes. And we'll connect you to people who you can actually talk to.
Okay, thank you.
And some of them are on the call here itself, or some of them may be the people who invited you here. Who invited you here, Avnish?
Manoj.
Manoj. So Manoj can connect you to a few people.
Sure.
And by the way, it's perfectly legitimate to question and be cynical. Not cynical, but at least skeptical. Cynicism is not very good, but skepticism is very healthy.
Sure.
All right, Avnish, thank you.
Thank you.
Somebody else? Questions? Sushil, go for it, Sushil.
Hi, Fati. How are
Hi,
you?
I am fine, Sushil.
Yeah. So I have one, particular question. Like, suppose there's a dream I'm living from last, say, a decade, and I want to create a team, and I want to create a, enterprise, and I want to actually enroll people to work in that team.
Mm.
I'm being authentic with people, and I'm sharing my whole team with everyone, my plans, my strategy, everything transparent in my company. nothing hidden. And still I failed. Last week I fired everyone in my life. Like I never have done in my life. But last week, I have to do that because it was like nothing was working with them actually. So
You
being
fired means you terminated them or you shouted at them?
I shouted first, then I terminated.
Oh, so you now become a one-man show, are you?
No, I heard like some people, less people,
Right,
like 50
right,
people like who are just doing these small jobs. But
right.
still, I'm living my dream, and I want to create my team, and I want to like I have only one life to live, and I want to fulfill that dream in this life only.
Right.
So my question is like, I've been through a lot of trainings. Like, I've done I've done mission control, landmark forum, ILP, and integrity seminars, velocity seminars. So one thing I still like, wondering, like besides all these trainings, I've done, a lot of other webinars, and I've been through a lot of, reading books and all that. But I'm still wondering, what is that which is like, actually I'm missing out, or why the things are not moving ahead?
Well, the internal state of the intervener, Sushil.
Yeah, it's not an interview. Like, how does your training will give me that aspect of, what I'm
Well,
looking
I
for?
think there will be two things required, Sushil, okay?
Yeah.
Just by participating in the program itself, you won't get everything you need because it doesn't deal with each individual individually. But it'll give you an overview and you'll begin to see which are the areas and what you need to work in. And I think you have done a good amount of work with other programs similarly, right?
Yeah.
I think what you need is an actual intervention in your company itself, not just not just fundas, not just theory, but hand-to-hand practical working. We do offer that. We
Actually, I guess,
offer interventions.
Yep. You actually got me actually. Actually, I'm looking for like some sort of, sort of mentoring or coaching.
Yes.
Not for just like 10 seminars, like, for a year, and I'm like going with the, plans and making strategies and then implementing. I'm ready to give my last drop of my blood for that. I'm so
Well,
passionate to.
I don't think you need to give you a drop of blood, but we'd be happy to, we'd be happy to take on with you. You're participating in the program, and side by side, you hire us to coach you, so that you do both of them together, so that you actually have a real life impact on your work itself. So we could offer you both.
Okay. I've been in communication with Mr. Vivek, and Vivek is being a great support. Seriously, like he's like, to be very honest, he's like, awesome. Like he's always available for, for people, and I really appreciate him for that actually. And I've been in talk with him to, do something on this part.
I find that a lot of people like to take free support.
Yeah.
But there's a big difference between when you pay for it and it's free.
Yeah, I understand that.
And the difference, let me finish what I'm saying. The difference is in your state of mind. Because when you pay for it, then you want to make sure that your investment turns out. When you don't pay for it, you go to Vivek and you listen to what he has to say, and you will either do it or you will not do it, and all the rest of it. There has to be that kind of engagement, that kind of commitment to the coach that allows you to produce it. I would recommend you meet with Vivek and set up a coaching contract with him over 6 months or something, and have this be the foundation of the start of the coaching contract, and then work on that and see what happens. But there will be a lot of soul searching you have to do, a lot of telling the truth to yourself that you have to do. I know you've been open and everything with everybody, but it's what we don't know. We don't know about ourselves. That's the problem.
There is something. That is why that's why I say I'm wondering. There is something which is might be not in my view, or I'm unable to locate it actually to rectify it. Yeah.
And if you work with Vivek, if he needs any support from me, he will catch hold of me or Manoj,
No,
and
in fact,
we will
Manoj
work with you
Omkar,
together.
Manoj, you know me? Remember?
Oh,
No.
Yeah.
Huh?
Sushil, yes.
Okay. All
ठीक
right.
हो सब?
Yeah, all well. आप बताओ कैसे हो?
बस. So, जैसे Ferdy ने बताया ना, I think good thing would be that you are doing the course and parallelly you continue coaching with Vivek, right? So that you are able to actually cause the breakthroughs in your company. But you could start with being in the course and start applying it there. Okay.
Okay, I will have a call with Vivek on this and
But be in touch with yeah. Be in touch with
yeah,
Vivek.
I will.
Yeah. But
good
Okay.
good to
question.
see you after a long time. Yeah, after a long time.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Very good.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Somebody else? Especially questions about participation, anything like, oh, by the way, have we told you how much it cost, right? I don't think we've told you how much it cost. It cost you £500 plus fees. It's on Everbright, about 4% or
Eventbrite.
something.
Yeah. So
Eventbrite,
521
which
pounds.
is,
Yeah.
it
So
costs a
total will
total
come
of
to 521 pounds.
£521. And if you want to pay in Indian rupees and not in foreign currency, then you should get in touch with Manoj and he will organize for you to make an equivalent payment in Indian rupees. That's for all the 10 sessions.
And you can pay by credit card or debit card.
Yeah. Okay,
Or,
somebody
or
else?
PayPal. Or PayPal.
Questions? I don't want to talk without questions now because otherwise who knows what we're saying at home. We want to be able to talk to you. So have we driven you away, scared you off, or what? I think it might be a good idea to do something. Who was it who asked you, Vivek, to whether people have done the program and have gotten something out of it, right? So I think it's a good opportunity.
Avnish
Yeah,
asked that, so you can have SK share, Nitesh share.
yeah, so anybody who's done the program, if you want to address what you got out of it, so people know the reality of it. SK, are you going to go?
Yeah. I'm just seeing myself. Okay, hi. Hi, everyone. My name is Sai Krishna Rao. I head the education initiative of Schneider Electric in India. I have around 32 years of corporate experience, worked with different companies like ABB, Wipro Technologies, Centum Electronics, etc. in my earlier assignment. I did this cohort, I think it was cohort 10, maybe that was in last year, August. I did that and it opened up a whole new realm of creating the education business for Schneider that I'm developing for Schneider in India from a different perspective altogether. So when I joined, it was the perspective of doing it was that I had to do something for Schneider Electric, fulfill the intention of Schneider Electric. It shifted from what I saw it as it should be to what is needed and required out there in the universities and the technical institutions that I'm working for. So when it shifted, the context shifted from my ego perspective to a eco perspective. I could then see them as partners for fulfilling this intention. So the whole offering that I then brought forth, the conversations that I brought forth with the technical institutions and universities and the state skill missions in India was talking to them as partners in creating ecosystem of digitally conversant engineers in the country. So that was much a bigger vision, a powerful vision, inside of which there was no context of selling at all. It's a context of participating together in creating a vision which both we saw possible. So it's very powerful today, and I created a team of representatives to do that, a set of channel partners to do that, because there's a huge market to go. And I created this context. When I created this context with these people, they were also really surprised by that. So when we used to go to colleges and institutions, the change was that we were welcomed over there. We were like partners being welcomed, and more of dialogues and discussions were happening, and there was no need to sell them this idea. So it's a completely different way of working on. And today it's like all my channel partners, my sales managers across the country are experiencing this new way of working with their customers, and it's like really catching fire. And in the last 45 to 50 days of lockdown, I think we have been the most busiest people working on every day with the people on the Zoom in creating this idea with them. So that's a huge shift, okay? And then so I think that's a little, of course there are a lot of other benefits, but there's one thing that enabled me to roll out this initiative for Schneider, and it had a huge impetus out of learning of this through this course. Yeah, that's what I
Right.
want to say.
Very good. Thank you, SK.
Thank
Anybody
you.
has any questions for SK? Okay. Anybody else would like to share? Somebody who's done the program? I don't know whether you've got people here who've done the program.
I think Basava was here. Mitesh had to step out.
Right.
Basava was here. I don't know whether he's
That's
here
okay.
right now. Yeah.
It's okay.
But we could share a couple of things.
Yeah.
Right.
You should share the work you're doing in Thailand, Manoj.
Yeah, I want to do that. Yeah, I'll do that. Also, like if I were to look at the couple of big time results that some of our participants have produced, there could be many, but at the top of the mind that I want to say right now is we have this NGO, and he was this because Basava was here right now, so I wanted to talk about him. So when he joined the course, he had a 2-people team, and he was doing a lot of great work in his region in Karnataka, and they are into the game of supporting the villagers, especially in creating wells and getting teams together and addressing the water problem there. And I think somewhere in this course, he got connected to his intention very powerfully. But not only that, he got connected to people and how he could share and connect other people to the intention. Because I think many of you are connected to your intention, but then how do you get, like Sushil was talking about, how do you get people connected to the intention? And what Basava had a breakthrough in is he could actually connect with the Swamijis, who are religious people who are working in these communities, and other people, and have been able to expand so much that now his team, in the span of less than 2 years, has moved from 2 to 17. And of course, it's small in for many other people, but for him, it's like a completely state change. So I just had that on the top of my mind, and want to share that. And there are people who have, in the same way, expanded multiple times. Uh, what Ferdy asked me to share about is the work that we're doing in Thailand. I think firstly, it is a major breakthrough for us itself, because I don't speak Thai language. Okay, and we did a level 1 workshop there, and they got so much kind of connected to this spirit of this technology that now we are doing long-term interventions in these companies, 5-level works, and we're expanding the works in a way that now they're getting the whole company trained. So this is a small company in the furniture industry, and there is a company in the in the event management industry, and there is another company is in the training industry itself. So with this furniture company, we are now training all 100 people. So there's two levels. Which, the level one is what we are talking about to you. And then we are training around 25 people in the level 3, level 4, which is more about creating the future of the company and taking on workplace projects which would create a breakthrough in the actual issues that they're dealing with. So one of the team right now is working on transforming their working capital requirement from 143 days to the long-term target is of course to bring it down to 0 days, but right now they're trying to bring it down to less than 50 days. They're working on, there's a team which is working on transforming their delivery schedules, which are like 60 days, to now bringing it down to 15 days. And they already had a major breakthrough in that. There are two teams working on bringing in new products and innovation in those areas. And all of this is happening not just by the team sitting and thinking together, but like Fadi was pointing out, they're going out into the field, connecting with the suppliers, connecting with the customers, sensing from the field, and the whole team is involved in that. So the power of the alignment of the organization, that is phenomenally present. The way we talk is that their company's name is Livevijit, and we could talk about creating a new Livevijit where everybody can think deeply, can share their ideas, can listen and connect to other people's ideas, and co-create the new future. So that's the whole game that we are working on, and it's already beginning to produce phenomenal results. So much so that the owner of that company and his friend, they're already taking us to their family, other companies in their family business group. They have 8 companies in that. They're taking us to that. They're also introducing us to many of their friends. So it's like the kind of impact that is beginning to expand the work in Thailand beyond our imagination. Just from it all started with their participating in our first program and getting in touch with the power of this technology. Okay, so for keeping the time in mind, I think I'll pause here right now.
Yeah. I actually would like to hear from people. What are you hearing? What are you thinking? Any questions you still have, rather than just hearing ourselves talk. So tell us something about what kind of businesses are you working in? Anybody? Tell us what kind of business you're working in.
Fadi,
Yeah?
Fadi, Satya
Yes,
here.
Satya.
Yes, Satya.
Yeah, currently I'm running a startup, IT consulting startup, from last 7-8 months, and we were progressing on some level, but due to lockdown, our few projects had gone on hold and nothing is working out. So I'm still figuring out ki, I have taken a right decision or not, or this is what I'm going through right now. But still I'm figuring out how I can market myself, my company and products, and connect with more customer right now. So this is what I'm doing.
So let me ask you a question. So what is the best possible result you would like to get for yourself over the next 1 year or 5 years? Without being limited by your downloading, if you could have a breakthrough, what would be the best result you'd like to get for yourself and your company?
So we want to be a international standard business. We want more international projects and customer, and making more than 50 crore turnover.
And what kind of IT are you working on? What is your business?
We are into portal development, mobile application development, web apps, and we are into SAP services also. We are into cloud services. We are into digital solution. We are a premium partner with CFI Technologies. So this
So,
is
so
yeah.
if you actually look, because of COVID, because of what we're dealing with, your attention was previously on your clients and what they need, right? And then you would supply whatever they need because there's plenty.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
right now, I suspect your attention is now become focused on yourself and the survival of your company. Am I right?
Survival of the company also and survival of myself also.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
understand.
earning. Yeah. Yeah.
I completely understand, and you're not unique in that, Satya. A lot of people in this situation
Yes.
feel that
Yes.
way.
Yes. 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 Yes.
So
Yes.
I'm going to invite you to consider something. Suppose you stop looking at your survival. Okay.
Mhm.
Suppose you stop looking at your survival and your company's survival. And in our language, here we call it ego, the ego
Right.
focus, right? My survival, my company.
Right.
And you shifted your focus to your customers, the customers that
Right.
you already have, right? Now, some of
Right.
them are facing similar situation themselves. Some of them are
Right.
facing, are we going to be in business in 6 months' time? Are we not? Or they require something. So if you started to shift to, how could I serve these people in this situation? In what way do I have the resources that can provide some kind of service to these people? You can't solve their problems called COVID, how the company, that you can't do. But in terms of your IT infrastructure and the way you're dealing with it, what is it that they require that you can give them? And right now, when you suggest that to them, they'll say, we got no money, we can't buy it. Well, maybe you could give it to them on credit. Maybe you could
Right.
give it to them in some other way, in some creative mode. Maybe you could do a barter. Maybe they are doing this kind of business, which you can use some of, start to think outside the box, but with the focus on eco, with the focus on service. Because the thing that we all forget is that sales, every company exists to fill a need. If there is no need for your product, then your company cannot exist. So
Right.
if you find out what is the need and you find a way to supply the need, but you don't get stuck with, it's got to be in the way it was in the past. I got to have money down first. I got to have this, and you start to get creative about how you deal with them.
Right.
Then you might find that you're at least working and you're doing things you really love to do. You know, is that useful to you? Does it trigger something for you, Satya?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's worth living. Yeah. It's worth living. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's worth
Yeah,
living.
you
Yeah.
have,
Yeah.
you have something to contribute. Go ahead and contribute. Find a way to do that, right? Somebody else. What are you challenged with right now? Let's hear from you. We got how many minutes? 5 minutes. Oh, we got only 5 minutes. So maybe I should stop that. I hope this was useful to you.
I think we could have more interaction if anybody wants.
What's that?
If any, we can take one more question or one more sharing from anybody what they are
Yes.
dealing. Yeah.
Yeah, please go ahead. Anybody?
What the current challenge? Anil, you're on
Go
mute.
ahead, Anil.
Is
Yeah.
there any prerequisite for this course?
Is there a prerequisite for
Prerequisite.
this course?
Yeah.
No. You just have to be a human being.
Thank you.
And you do need to have a certain level of understanding of English because the program will be conducted in English. But that's it, nothing else. No.
Yeah.
Great. Good question. Any other questions like that? No? Okay. So let me just put up the slide. These are the dates. The cohort starts on June 22nd and they're on Mondays. So 22nd and 29th of June, July 6th, 13th, 20th, 27th, August 10th, 17th, and 24th. Timings are from 7:30 p.m. to 10 p.m., which is 2 p.m. Universal time. You know, standard time for anywhere in the world. You can calculate your time based on that. The registration cost you 500 plus the fees in Eventbrite, which is 521.59. You can pay in, what did I do? You can pay in INR, ask for an invoice from Manoj. You know, he'll tell you the equivalent. And if you want to contact us, you can contact Manoj at this email address, contact Vivek at this address, you can contact me at this address. And I want to really, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, and all of you have received an email, the meeting invite, an email from me, so you will have some of my details also.
Yeah, and thank you very much for attending the introduction. I hope it was useful to you. Whether you participated or not, I hope it was something that was of value to you, because that was our intention. And I hope to see you around